Why is one rookie all of a sudden dropping in big gorilla drafts? What sleeper is on a new team that might have top 5 FFPC upside at his position? And what's the best way to build $1 million winning FFPC team? Plus, the 13-time league champ Don Taulbee hangs out with us to break down his big gorilla draft from last Friday and a ton more. We've got a great show for you. Ferrell Elliott is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour extra reps starts right now.
Can't stand the pressure. I've seen greater men than need a lesson.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now watching the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. Welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for analysis from the best players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott.
Solace in the scripture. Are we not all our father's sons? I became a man. Nobody ever told me what a man was.
Thank you, Rob. Greetings and salutations to all of you Balkaholics and Ferrelliacs. This is the latest episode of HSFF Hour Extra Reps presented by MyFFPC.com. I'm your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman. And my co-host is the definitive commissioner of fantasy football, one Ferrell Elliott. Coming up on tonight's show, we're going to talk about everything we didn't get to this past Wednesday. Plus, we sit down with the 13-time FFPC league winner, Don Taulbee, to talk about his big gorilla draft that we covered live on this channel this past Friday night. If you want to connect with us on X, you can do so at HSFF Hour. I'm at Eric Balkman. You may know me from the Road of His High Stakes Lowdown, the FFPC Insider Access Show, the Fantasy Football Players Championship, the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour as well. Learn more about Ferrell's Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship at KFFSC.com. Post on our Facebook page at Facebook.com/HSFF Hour. Email the show at High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour at gmail.com. If you have any questions for us, send them in down. We'll try to get to our all the chat room questions, all the tweets, all the X posts, everything going on. Thanks to our audio engineer, my best friend Bryce, and of course our producer and our mutual friend Rob. I want to bring on our guest and our co-host in a little bit. But before I do, I want to mention that the FFPC Big Gorilla is going hard throughout the weekend. $350 to enter, $1 million grand prize. You're going to have $50 off each additional team that are not each additional team, each third team that you buy. So you buy one, you buy two, third team, $50 discount. That goes forward until you max out at 150 entries, or if you don't want to max out, whatever, it's fine. You're going to get $50 off each additional team. Now, the FFPC main event, you'll get $600 off each additional team there. After you sign up for the first one, $600 off each additional team to try to win $1 million grand prize. I mentioned the big gorilla. The baby gorilla also eligible right now for a $100,000 grand prize, just $125 to enter, just $125 to enter the FFPC Best Ball Tournament as well. That is going to feature a $400,000 grand prize. That's up $100K from last year. And then, of course, the FFPC Superflex Best Ball Tournament, $35 to enter, and you can still win a $100,000 grand prize there. Dynasty Startups, Empire Dynasty Startups available right now. MyFFPC.com. They start at $100. They go all the way up to $5,000 right now. And don't forget about FFPC Player One. Enter for $5, $10, $35, $350. Win huge prizes, competing against 11 other FFPC teams for the FFPC Player One competition. It's a lot of fun. Not available everywhere. Kind of exclusive right now. But we're working on it to try to make it available everywhere we're operating. You can play Player One, not right now, but hopefully in the future that will be the case. FFPC Chop Leagues, of course, starting at $35 there, and they go all the way up to where you can win cash, FFPC Main Event entries, FFPC Big Gorilla entries as well. MyFFPC.com is where to go for that, MyFFPC.com. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment on the video, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, and get notified each and every time we go live. Now, before we bring in our first guest tonight, I have to bring in my co-host. He runs the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship, KFFSC.com, at KFFSC on X, at KFFSC official on X. I have been participating. I have never been involved more in the KFFSC than I am this year, and I'm having a blast. The guy who's responsible for that, Mr. Ferrell Elliott. We bring him on right now. Ferrell, good evening to you, sir. And I should say this more. Thank you for making a great contest at KFFSC.com because I'm loving it.
Well, buddy, and we love having you there. It's a love fest, Balky, wherever you are. I mean, it's, people line up, get their picture taken with you, talk about being on the show, doing fun things. You're still on the clock in the Big Valentine's Dynasty. What, you don't know?
I'm making my pick right now.
You ain't allowed to pull the trigger on the running back, for God's sake.
Yes.
You can get in there and go ahead and do it.
You know what's funny about that is
Porkies are next. Nighttime is lined up in the 3 spot, and then our beloved Drew Maselli's coming in there at 4th. People want to do it, man. Mark Salinas is nighttime.
Oh yeah.
He's all the people are waiting to draft.
Salinas is the fantasy football
here
team.
on Friday night. They want to draft.
So I'm going to say this right now. Christian and Hicks contacted me about trading the 101.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to be polite to them. By the way, Christian and Hicks
that's darn true.
giving us Team Porkies here, Oinker, tonight, bringing us up. And they were the only one, Ferrell, to make an offer for the 101. And I told them from the get-go, I said, listen, you're going to have to knock my socks off. And they tried, and it was a tempting offer, but ultimately I couldn't do it. So
they're probably going to send you another one of those plastic pigs.
Right. They might. I'm looking at it right now. I just want to make sure before I take, because I have the 101, and I want to make sure that I'm not missing a trade offer here.
No.
And I am not. So, yeah, I'm making the Jeremiah Love pick right now. So
Jordan Love, go ahead and take him.
Yeah. I might actually have Jordan Love on this team already. So I could have he's
probably rushing.
All right. Anyway, so Jeremiah Love has been taken. And as a result, Ferrell, we have a couple of players that were already pre-drafted. Carnell Tate goes at the 102. And Makai Lemon at the 103. God bless. And Drew Maselli is up right now. Makai Lemon, there's going to be some Drew Maselli might be fielding some trade offers at the 104 for Jadarian Price or Jordan Tyson here.
There you go. Exciting to see. Wow, Makai Lemon. What do you think about that?
I'm intrigued, and I gotta figure out who made that pick. That was who was Nighttime Ferrell?
Oh, that's Mark Salinas.
Oh, Salinas! Oh my God. Okay, so we gotta get Salinas back on this show to find out why he would take Lemon that high, because that is not a popular pick right now. But Salinas knows fantasy football, so we have to get him back. Okay. Without further ado, let's bring on our guest tonight. He's been gorging himself on shrimp cocktail and crudité and oysters and everything we've had in the green room tonight. Why would we put out such a great spread? Well, it's not often that on Extra Reps we get a guest who has won 13 FFPC League championships over the course of his career here. He drafted live from the 2 spot at the FFPC Big Gorilla draft that we showcased on this channel this past Friday live. And he's going to join us here to talk about that and so much more. Please welcome onto the program, Mr. Don Taulbee. Don, welcome in. Happy Friday to you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I guess the question that everybody's wondering after we saw what you did on Friday, how do you feel 1 week later about that team that you drafted for $1 million in the Big Gorilla last week, man?
Yeah, I feel all right about it. It is not my typical. Some of the guys are just not typical for me to take, but yeah, I feel good about the team.
So when you talk about players that were not typical of you that you would normally take.
Not your guys.
Well, yeah, not your guys. So why would you take them, Don? Was it a case of like you wanted to vary things up a bit? You knew that this was being streamed and maybe people were taking players that they normally wouldn't take at that spot. Why do you feel like you were drafting a little bit off of what you normally would do?
Well, the first one that fits that category is T. Higgins. I'm just year in and year out, I'm lower than I should be on him, and don't really see it until the season. I'm just constantly low on him, and so when that wide receiver run happened in round 4,
yep,
so many of those guys I wanted, and he was a value there, and I really felt like I should take a wide receiver there, so I went with him. Even like I said, it was more just a value pick, even though I'm generally lower on him than most.
I agree with you being such a value pick, but look, we got to go back to round 3. We've got to go back to round 3. Balky just drafted in one of the KFFSC dynasties. He took Jeremiah Love at the 1-1. You take him here at the 3-2 in front of one of my all-time favorite players, Mr. Derrick Henry. What were you thinking?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like the upside for Jeremiah Love is just sky high. I know the Cardinals are terrible, but he just has it all. And they really do have a good offense. It's just their quarterback. So, I just feel like he could really explode even with a weak team. Derrick Henry is, just reliable. He's a tank. He's one of the best ever. But they, and maybe their new OC will throw to him more, because I think he has always had the ability as a receiving back, but they just haven't used him in Baltimore like that at all.
How many times have Derrick Henry fans just gone out of their mind? The ball is in the red zone and Derrick Henry is on the bench. And you just wonder, what in the world were they thinking about? I don't get it.
Well, the other thing too, and Don, let me just pitch this to you. You explained Love over Henry. There are a lot of people that are Breece Hall fans this year, and Breece Hall went at the 304 to a Frank Imbornoni's squad, and you could have had Hall, Henry, Love. Was it just the sort of like mystery box aspect with Love, or was there a reason that you stayed away from Breece Hall here too?
No, it was honestly, I felt like I could take more of a risk at running back there because I had Bijan Robinson. Even though I prefer Gibbs over Bijan, Bijan's obviously great. And so having him there and thinking, or when I got to that pick, knowing I was going to take my running back too, I felt like it was okay to take a bigger risk. Which I feel like Love is a bigger risk over Henry or Breece Hall. I just feel like he also has higher ceiling.
Balky was talking about all the variety of ways that you can draft this weekend. At Balky, there's some fantastic deals in the FFPC that our listeners have got to go onto the website and make some selections. But where across the landscape of FFPC play do you play in all the contests? Are you a dynasty guy? Are you a best ball guy? Are you a big gorilla guy? Main event? Are you coming live? What's your story when it comes to drafting?
Big Gorilla has been the one I play most, but I have moved towards dynasty. It's just great because you can play it year round, and certainly playing at FFPC for dynasty feels it's safe. I mean, just because the league's not going to fold. So yeah, I have really been enjoying those leagues that I'm in and have been building that out more the last couple of years.
Is the Gorilla a favorite as opposed to the main event, or do you know the main event is your bread and butter?
The Big Gorilla is my bread and butter. The main event's still a little out of my budget.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but Don, the great thing, and this, playing the Big Gorilla, you're still drafting for $1 million grand prize, which is the main event. You're still drafting for a
hard to imagine.
And the other thing too, like, and just to bring it back to this, and you know, Don, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I don't think I have a Bijan, Robinson, Love, Judkins start in KFFSC, but I'm pretty sure one of my leagues in KFFSC, I have a Love Judkins as my number 2 and number 3 running backs, which is what you drafted in the Big Gorilla here. And I'm curious as to your thought process. Once you took Judkins at the 502 in this draft, were you solely focused like, okay, now I get to stack receivers because all I got is T. Higgins? Because when it got back to you in the 6th round, you went Tyson, Parker Washington, Lemon, Downs, Caleb Williams, obviously, and then Addison right after that. So you were stacking receivers. And I guess, Don, it probably made it easier to stack receivers knowing you had 3 running backs and you had Loveland in the 2nd round too. How much of that was by design when you were drafting, you know, even before the draft started? Did you feel like you were going to go running back and then get Loveland at the end of the 2nd and then start stacking receivers, get a couple of running backs in there? What was sort of like your approach prior to the draft starting?
Well, I knew at 2 I would get a running back. It was either Gibbs or Bijan. And honestly, I didn't think Loveland would fall to me in the 2nd. I feel like he's generally been going a little bit earlier. But I really like him. I think he has just a great future ahead of him, and especially in that offense. So yeah, when he fell to me, I was happy to take him there. And honestly, though, with Jeremiah Love, I would have taken either Devonta Smith or Rashee Rice if they had fallen there. So it surprised me that both of them went. And I just did not want to reach on any of the other guys after their Pickens or Ibuka or Olave. It just felt too soon for them, at least for me. So that's kind of why Love fell there. And then, no, none of it, like I said, none of it was really planned after Bijan. Loveland surprised me. And then, yeah, like you said, all of those receivers. And even Judkins, honestly, I took T. Higgins because he felt like a value. But then Waddle is who I was hoping would come back around in the 5th. But he immediately went. And so Judkins felt like a good spot there. He is super talented. Again, problem, you know, this is a kind of a theme there with Love on a poor team, but just so much talent with him that he could still break through and have a really strong year. And as my my running back 3, you know, again, it feels safe. It feels like with those 3 guys, I'm going to have 2 that are going to be very reliable and strong, at least 2. So.
And Don, I'll just say this: like in KFFSC, I've been making a lot of tough decisions between Judkins and Trevion Henderson, and I feel like I've split them kind of somewhat evenly. But I will say this about Judkins: the biggest concern I have about him is not the offense, not the head coach, not the new OC, not anything, or coming off the injury, not anything like that. I just worry about him catching passes. But based on what he did this previous year with not catching passes and how good he was, I don't know. Maybe that should be in my rear view where I shouldn't necessarily worry about Quinshon Judkins, the pass catcher, when I'm getting Quinshon Judkins, the everything else, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that there's something to be said for that, especially when he's slipping to the 5th round. You don't need to comment on that. What I do want to ask you about here, to bring it back to the top, Don, you knew you were getting either Gibbs or Robinson at the 102. After that, all bets were off. You were surprised about Loveland. You were surprised about Love. You were surprised about Smith and Rice, like here. When you are drafting that early in the Big Gorilla or whatever, I think that you have to be on notice and prepped for anything. Like, you really can't go in with a set strategy of what you want to do at the end of the 2nd round because so much stuff can happen. And you're kind of setting the trend with Loveland here at the end of the 2nd, as he was like a 3rd round pick. And now he's creeping up to that end of the 2nd round. And then that obviously shaped a lot of the decisions you made over the next, 5-6 rounds after you took Bijan Robinson and then Loveland.
Yeah, just a note on the Judkins and his pass catching. As you see, I feel like Dylan Sampson is a bit of a value as well. And I don't make it a point to draft handcuffs of top picks I have, but occasionally I will, especially in a case like this when he's coming off an injury and Sampson does have that receiving role, like you said. But yeah, in terms of flexibility, I feel like most drafts you need to do that, and especially earlier in the drafting season.
There was a player you drafted at the wide receiver spot that gave me some pause. I said, "Well, what's he thinking about here? What's he going to do?" And that was Josh Downs. And when we go to the 9th round, moving left to right, I see a number of receivers after Downs that I really prefer to this player. Now, tell me what I'm not getting about Downs.
I can tell you, but I'll let Don weigh in on this.
Yeah, I know what you think about Downs.
Well, I mean, one, I think he's very talented. It sounds like Daniel Jones is mostly going to be good to go. They got rid of Pittman, and he may be the number 3 receiver there, but I still think that's going to be a fairly secure role for him. I think he'll be on the field for 2 wide receiver sets. And I think his talent and all of those factors are going to make him, at worst, a mid wide receiver 3.
One of the things that we didn't talk about on the show when this draft was happening and when we've been evaluating Downs lately, as you say, he's going to get Daniel Jones back, but is that such a great deal? We tend to think what happened last year. Well, the quarterback got hurt. But if you go study the 4 games before he got hurt, you'll see that statistically he was already hurting. He had a great start to the year. I was very encouraged with the player, and I really liked the player. And I root, but man, the wheels came off around Halloween.
But Ferrell, when did the quarterback get hurt?
Is what I'm saying. It was bad 4 games before he got hurt.
Okay.
Well, didn't he have like a hairline fracture as well before he actually tore his Achilles? Was it?
Right.
Yeah. So
bad injury year. The numbers were just stunningly. Yeah. They were just polar opposites. His first few games of the year, his first part of the year was excellent.
Yeah, shockingly so. Like it was such a massive difference. And you're absolutely right. I mean, Downs could easily be, he could, like if Daniel Jones isn't playing, if that offense isn't clicking, even if he's on the field in 2 wide receiver sets, I think he could certainly, that's the thing. I think that even in worst case scenario, he probably is not going to creep down further than his wide receiver 41 spot.
Yes.
It's possible. Now, that said, in these, you do want guys that can go to the moon, and I don't necessarily think he is one of them. But with Jordan Tyson and Makai Lemon, I think I had a little more risk in my wide receiver room. And so he felt like a safer bet than Michael Wilson or Ricky Pearsall or Xavier Worthy, for instance.
Well, all you guys that are drafting Downs, all of you really make a good case for him. Well, I just keep looking at it closer and closer.
Well, I think the biggest and Don didn't necessarily sell it all that much. Not that he has to, but the biggest selling point for me on Downs. Look where Don drafted him here. I'll bring it up right now. Don's drafted him from the 2 spot. 902. For a guy, and again, we're talking about Alec Pierce coming off ankle surgery. We don't know when he's going to be active. This could be and I know, and I didn't bring this up on the HSFF hour on Wednesday because I don't put much credence into it, but there was a report about the Colts considering signing Keenan Allen, which I don't necessarily see because I think Allen and Downs are such a duplication of skills. So I don't think that the Colts would actually sign him. But this could be the Downs and Warren show with Daniel Jones and obviously Jonathan Taylor rushing the ball. through October until Pierce is, jumping on that moving train, as Mike Tomlin always said. So I think there's a lot to love about Josh Towns, again, at his current ADP. That could change throughout the rest of the season. But for where you got him here, Don, it makes a lot of sense. And then I also have to ask you here, too, Jordan Tyson in the 6th, Makai Lemon in the 8th. Is this a commentary? Is this a standpoint? Is this a flag plant that you're making on rookie wide receivers going too late? Or was this just the case of like Tyson and Lemon were the best choices at that spot here?
Yeah, it was mostly about that. I felt like I needed to stack a whole bunch of more or less dart throws at wide receiver with only T. Higgins, and those were the best available to me. Jameson Williams went a bunch before me, but I certainly would have taken him over Jordan Tyson or Parker Washington. Yep. But I'm not a fan of DK Metcalf at all. And Alec Pierce, I'm kind of always on the fence about, but especially with the injury news, it's hard for me to take him, especially with a wide receiver room that is as fragile as this one is and was at that point. And I think both of those guys have opportunities where they could really, really have solid seasons.
Mm-hmm. And I'll just bring this up right now. According to Fantasy Mojo, Darren Armani, who runs the FFPC Pros versus Joes at Fantasy Mojo on X, fantasymojo.com. If you're playing in the FFPC, highly recommend you get a subscription to Fantasy Mojo. Alec Pierce is wide receiver 35 right now, Don, at the 708. Ironically enough, I'm sorting by team right now, which you can do at Fantasy Mojo. I want to sort by ADP right now, which is what I'm going to do. Darren Armani has Alec Pierce at the 708. That is behind Tyson and Washington. It is right ahead of Metcalf, Godwin, and Lemon. And I think, Don, and you can weigh in on this. I can't ask Ferrell about it because I know he loves Michael Pittman too much to honor.
That can't be. You can't do that too much.
You can't. Yeah, exactly. But Don, 708 for Alec Pierce right now. Does that suggest like this could be a buying opportunity for Pierce? Because if we get reports that he's practicing in training camp, that ADP and that contract, or the contract, is going to force that ADP up.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think it is a buying opportunity for Pierce. I have not found the right spot, the right draft to take him yet, but I feel exactly that way. I just, for one reason or another, I've found another pick whenever it comes around that range.
Right. And I'll say this too, Don, like I've been drafting Pierce, and I haven't felt good about it. so I haven't found that right spot either for Pierce right now. Like he's been like my wide receiver 4, my wide receiver 5, and I'm hoping that pays off, once the season starts, but I don't know regarding that. The other thing, as long as we're talking AFC South here, Ferrell, and I want you to weigh in on this, but I'll ask Don first. You had the opportunity, so you didn't have the opportunity to select from all the Jaguars receivers at the 702. Brian Thomas was already off the board. You took Parker Washington over Jacoby Myers. Don, would you consider all the nebulousness, for lack of a better term, regarding the Jaguars receivers right now? If you had your opportunity at the 702 to take Thomas, Washington, or Myers, we know you're taking Washington over Myers. Would you have taken Brian Thomas over Parker Washington there if they both would have been available?
Yeah, I do prefer Brian Thomas over Parker Washington. Last year, or I should say in years prior to Jacoby Myers coming over to Jacksonville, I've always thought he was underrated and undervalued in drafts. They certainly utilized him well last year. I think Parker Washington was a surprise last year. I'm not really sold on him, to be honest, but I think that he is young enough. He did flash enough, and that offense looks good enough that, again, looking at my draft up to that point, I felt like I needed to take some shots at potential talent there at wide receiver, and he looked like the best available to me there.
Okay, which makes perfect sense. And I feel like I can't remember who was saying this on one of the other podcasts I was listening to, or maybe I had somebody on the show, but they said that they were trying to get exposure wherever they could. It's Andrew Erickson from Fantasy Pros on FFPC Insider Access a couple weeks ago, and he said, "I'm just trying to get exposure to that Jaguars passing game in every draft, whether that's Washington or Thomas or Myers or Strange or whatever." And Strange, obviously, this week getting the 3-year extension with Jacksonville probably makes him look a little bit better too. But and I don't want to put words in your mouth here, Don, but like it sounds like you're trying to do the same thing with just each and every draft, get a piece of it, see what happens.
I do like that offense. I think the most undervalued of them is Travis Hunter. I know they keep saying he's going to play cornerback, but he looked really good in that couple of games before he got injured last year. And he's, I don't even remember where he's down in like 14th or 15th round or something.
Yeah.
So he's much better in best ball, obviously. But even in leagues like this, I feel like even in managed leagues, he's not going to hurt you. You're taking him in the 14th round.
Ferrell, that's what I want to bring up with you. When you look at the Jacksonville pass catchers, and I know we've kind of touched on this before, Brian Thomas and Parker Washington right now are both 6th-round picks in the Gorilla over the last 5 days. Jacoby Myers, mid-10th round. Travis Hunter, mid-14th round. I don't know if you would ever want to go with multiple Jaguar pass catchers in your draft, but are you also trying to get at least a piece of this passing game in your drafts?
Yeah, and I like the prices on all these receivers, and I think that's a solid strategy. Most of our listeners, we talked about this Wednesday, most of our listeners are big Parker Washington fans.
Yeah, totally.
I'm a Jacoby Myers fan from way back, and I have talked at length about how Trevor Lawrence should be going higher in these drafts.
Yes,
I think that's a significant bargain. I don't really understand the tight end yet, but obviously they like him, down there. I think we're going to see some different things out of Jacksonville, and I think getting involved with them is a really good draft strategy this year. So yes, I would stack at least 2 of those wide receivers on a team that if I'm managing those wide receivers, I think there's some good matchups that would be forthcoming. So, and I like the skill set of all 3 of them.
I think it was Kevin Stefaniak from Brodoviz was saying, he's like, I don't understand why everybody hates Jacoby Myers. And the way I don't think anybody hates Jacoby Myers, but the way he framed that, where you're talking about like Thomas and Washington are both mid-6th round picks, right? And then Jacoby Myers is going 4 rounds after that. Listen, I get that you like Thomas, and I'm not talking to you guys, but I'm talking to FFPC drafters. I get that you like Thomas and Washington better, but 4 rounds better? I mean, that's where the disconnect is for me. Like I can see, I understand why Thomas and Washington might have better seasons, but I don't know if I'm willing to select them 4 rounds.
It's always wonderful when you can take the cheaper option. It's always a great way.
Exactly.
It's a great way to approach value drafting.
I strongly considered Myers over Jordan Addison.
Yeah, and we're in a situation, guys.
Sorry, go ahead, Ferrell. Go ahead.
Well, we're in a situation where there are some receiving cores that our drafters don't want anything to do with. Miami. Take the tight end out of Las Vegas, and no one wants anything to do with those pass catchers. You get, I'm beginning to sour a little bit on what's going on in Indianapolis. I think you guys can tell. Go where the ball is going to be in the air a lot and grab you a couple receivers.
Don, let me ask you this, because you talked about this. You took Jordan Addison. I'll bring up the draft board so everybody can see. I think it's on there. Yeah. At the 11:02, you took Addison there over Myers. And I'm of the opinion that regardless if you had Washington or Thomas or not, I would totally be taking Addison over Myers there because you already had that Jaguars piece on your team. Yeah. I want to increase variance or whatever. I think where it comes into play, like where it becomes more interesting, if you did not have a Jaguars piece, then what would you have done? If you're staring the 11:02 in the face, let's say you went with, I don't know. This is an unfair ask, but let's say you went with DK Metcalf or something there, and you didn't have a Jaguars pass catcher. And then at 11:02, you're thinking about, should I go Jordan Addison or Jacoby Myers? Then I think it's a slam dunk for Myers. But in your current situation that you already had Washington, I would have gone Addison there, which is what you did.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I also think Addison has the opportunity to get a lot of touchdowns like he has been in his past. And I know their quarterback situation has not been or was not great with J.J. McCarthy. But I think they'll get it figured out this year. I don't think Kyler Murray is great, but I think he'll be able to run that offense better than J.J. McCarthy did last year. That said, I do actually think that there is an outside chance that J.J. McCarthy gets that job sometime mid-late during the season. Maybe Kyler Murray, gets dinged up for a game or two. I mean, I think that they would love J.J. McCarthy to take over that job, just win it outright.
And the stuff I've been reading about, I mean, obviously over the last month or two, it's been like, it's Murray ahead of McCarthy or whatever. But the last week or so, it's been like, McCarthy's made some strides, and it's giving me some pause. Like I have been drafting Kyler Murray pretty consistently in the KFFSC Best Ball Tournament as my number 2 quarterback, and I feel really good about that because I think if he keeps the job all year, you're looking at a top 10 quarterback, maybe a top 5 quarterback if I can put my, purple and gold colored glasses on for the Vikings. I can see it happening. But top 10 for sure. And he's going as like, I'll look it up right now. Kyler Murray in the FFPC Big Gorilla, quarterback 16 at the 12-11 right now. So I like Murray there. But the longer this thing kind of lingers where it's like if we get into training camp and it's still like we're not unequivocally hearing like Murray is the guy, if we're hearing like, McCarthy had a good day in practice and Murray wasn't all that great. Like at that point, it's like I don't want to be in the business in best ball formats with Murray. Big Gorilla, I think I'm fine with because if he loses the job or doesn't get the job, okay, well that's an easy cut, and then you can swing for another home run at that point in the draft. But I think it's interesting to watch, and the other thing to consider too is how this affects Jefferson and Addison and Hawkinson and Jones and Claiborne and Mason and everybody else, Juwan Jennings there. I think that's the other thing that is the fallout from this Minnesota discussion is what does that quarterback, what is he able to do for everybody else in that offense? And I don't know if we have a definitive answer to that yet, Ferrell.
No.
I don't know. I'm curious. Did you at that 12-11 spot when you clicked on Murray, did the thought of Knicks and golf ever enter your mind, or was it just that wasn't in your ballpark?
They did. But having just drafted Jordan Addison and knowing and everything Eric just said, I feel like Kyler Murray could easily be a top 10 and even top 5 if they really get him going there. Whereas Knicks and Goff, I think their ceiling is 12, 10, somewhere in there.
Got you. I believe if Goff could play all his games in Detroit, that's when I would want to play him, is just when he's in Detroit. That's just, I keep beating that drum. I might be a guy that hears that drum louder than everybody else.
Well, guys, that draft, you can, if you want to see what happened in that, go back and watch or listen to the FFPC High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour from last Friday. We broadcast that, and you can hear all Don Taulbee's picks live there. Don, thank you for your insight in that. I want to get into some other stuff with you tonight, and let's lead things off with. I don't know about you guys. I listen to a lot of fantasy podcasts. I read a lot of fantasy stuff in regards to football. And one of the things that I think that people have not made up their minds about, and quite frankly, maybe will not make their minds up about going forward until the season starts, is the Denver Broncos running back situation. And do we have an email about this? I have to look this up right now. Yeah, we do have an email. So, Don, I'll lead this off to you. This is from Josh in Garner, North Carolina. Are RJ Harvey owners going to be disappointed by J.K. Dobbins' performance this season? Thank you. That is Josh in North Carolina. We appreciate the email, Josh. And this is interesting, Don, because RJ Harvey is coming off torn labrum surgery. Dobbins got signed to a significant contract, but then the Broncos also invested in Jonah Coleman in the draft here. So I don't know what to think about this. When you consider the FFPC Big Gorilla ADP when it comes to these Denver running backs right now, RB 34, Harvey, 804 right now in drafts. J.K. Dobbins right after him, running back 38 at the 812. And then Coleman, running back 45, not too far off that at the 1109. Don, what's the proper way that you've been handling the Broncos running back situation in Big Gorilla drafts at the moment?
Yeah, I'm J.K. Dobbins all the way there. He is just so talented. If I remember right, he's at like 5.2 yards per carry. He's not going to get a lot of receptions, but I feel pretty confident that he is going to be their primary back. And yeah, he's not going to get you an RB1 season, but I think in points per game, he's going to get you high RB3 at worst. And the big question obviously is if he gets injured, and that's why I kind of qualified that with points per game. You have to be ready to have him miss 3, 4, 5 games. But I don't think that's a given. And I also think that price is acceptable when you're getting him, in what is it, round 9 or something like that as an RB4.
Yeah, the 8-9 turn for Dobbins right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a great pick right there. If you need if you went heavy on wide receiver early, I think he's just somebody great to have in your stable.
Ferrell, the Broncos running back situation is confounding people. We've talked about this on previous episodes right now. I've had the opportunity, and I can't remember, it might have been Zach Krieger, who's been on the FFPC Insider Access show, and I don't want to attribute it to him if he didn't say this, but something to the effect of like Jonah Coleman is an injury away from being an injury away from being significant in this Broncos backfield, right? So if that's the case, and maybe it's the case, maybe it's not, but to me, it's like it comes down to Harvey or Dobbins. And I think I'm with Don here. I'm much more likely to draft Dobbins at the end of the 8th round rather than RJ Harvey in the early 8th round. Again, knowing that these ADPs have tightened up quite a bit between these two players. I think I'm team Dobbins with Don. Ferrell, how do you see
it? There's no we're all in agreement. We are unanimous. But we can also lean on our guest from this past Wednesday night, Ryan Atkinson, who said he's just avoiding the whole mess.
Yeah.
And that might be the safest way to play it. I have done in my early drafting, I have not had the inclination to let the first 3 or 4 rounds go without choosing running back, most of the time choosing two of them. Yeah. And that saved me from making some of these decisions. And these are tough decisions that I really don't want to make because I love the receivers that I'm getting in this area. And so I'm just curious about this. I want to bring up something from Wednesday night, which I have a better feeling for me, and I think a lot of the drafters are exactly where I am on this Denver situation, and that's the situation in Washington. I'm a big cross-key merit fan. Our guest Wednesday night was not. Your thoughts about this backfield as we move forward, because I think we got a very we've got a different situation, but a lot of draft value. If I'm wrong about cross-key merit, there's a lot of draft value then in this draft.
No, I'm with you. I like Bill, certainly better than Rachaad White. I think Rachaad White has always been good with pass catching, and he's a decent blocker. But I think JCM has some real possibility to take over that role, certainly more than he did last year. I thought he looked pretty good last year. He was a little bit limited, and I think that's just partly he was a rookie, and there may be still some blocking intricacies that he needs to work out before he's going to get more of that role. But yeah, I'm with you. I like JCM over Rachaad White or the rookie who I'm blanking on his name now.
Oh, Katron Allen.
Thank you.
Katron Allen. So I'll just say this about the Washington backfield. Number one, I'm not convinced, and I can't remember who wrote about this the other day. Somebody was reading. I'm not convinced that Washington's done adding. Like they could add a Najee Harris or somebody else or whatever. Because what did Steve Spurrier, not Steve Spurrier, what did people say about Steve Spurrier's quarterbacks when he was the head coach of the University of Florida? If you have two quarterbacks, you don't have any quarterback, right? And so with Washington, you have 6 running backs, you don't have any running back. So there could be something there where they add somebody, and I don't think whoever they add, whether it's Harris or whoever, they're not going to take over that backfield. But what they will do is neuter the value of guys like Ford, Allen, JCM, Rachaad White. And the other thing, to your guys' point with Rachaad White, he keeps creeping up. And I know there's more than a few fantasy publications out there saying he's this year's Javonte Williams. Rachaad White is now at the 808, which is a round and a half ahead of Krosky Merritt. It is 6 rounds ahead of the rookie Katron Allen. And I don't know if Jerome Ford makes the team. I don't think it really matters. You're talking about a 20th round pick here. So as far as the Commanders go, I'm probably staying away right now. And quite frankly, if they do sign Harris or somebody like that, I think that is the time I want to strike on JCM or White or not Ford, but Katron Allen, because then their value is going to be really depressed. And I just want a piece of the backfield just to see what happens. I don't really have a whole lot of faith in the Commanders' offense this year. But regardless of that, you're talking about their starting running back not going until the mid-8th round. I want to be in business.
That is some impressive analysis, Don. I think you would agree with me, and I don't think it changes our view on Krosky Merritt. But, Balky, you lost me with the exemplary use of the word neuter there. That just, and after that, that was just so impressive. That's what it's like, Don, hanging out with a broadcast professional.
Don, let me ask you this, and this is another email here, and it goes back to what you drafted on Friday night. This comes from us in Jasper, Georgia. This is Harrison, who emailed us from there. Is it right that Makai Lemon seems to be slipping in Big Gorilla drafts over the last couple of weeks? And if you look at what you did, you took him at the 811, and then you took Downs at the 902. But if we look at Makai Lemon over the past 5 days in the FFPC Big Gorilla, we see him going as wide receiver 38 at the 802. So technically, Don, you got some pretty significant value on Makai Lemon. But that is not what our friend is emailing in here tonight. He wants to know, why is Lemon slipping? And I'll piggyback on that. Is it right for Lemon to be slipping right now in Big Gorilla drafts?
I don't think it's right that he should be slipping. I think I can only guess that it's something to do with the hate for Jalen Hurts. It's odd. He just people just do not believe in his talent at all. And yet year in and year out he performs. I actually think they're going to look better on offense this year than they have in a while. I read that their new OC really likes to do a lot of pre-snap motion, which I think is huge for the NFL. And I think that also benefits Makai Lemon. I think they will be able to scheme some touches for him, those quick screens and slants, and get him some yards after the catch, where Devonta Smith, I think, is going to be great also, but he's going to be more medium deep, taking over some of that A.J. Brown role that was left behind.
So in regards to Lemon, and Ferrell, I'll throw this to you. Do you think that now is the buying opportunity? Don mentioned the Jalen Hurts hate, which I think is applicable here for sure. But then Lemon wasn't he dealing with a hamstring or some kind of leg injury with OTAs and minicamp or whatever? Mm-hmm. And I feel like that this is the kind of thing, again, with information out there to everybody. This is the kind of thing we need to be buying into. And when we consider that we won't know what his status is at training camp for another month, let's slam Makai Lemon right now in drafts, because this is the type of guy that's probably going to be raised up 2.5 or at least 2 rounds when we get to August if he's healthy.
It's the city of brotherly love. It's the home of Terp. Everybody wants to beat it up. That's kind of what it is. I would like to see better performances out of Hurts. I think you've identified that, Don. I think there's a little bit of that goes with Barkley too. There's nothing depressing about his draft status, but you see a lot of guys talking. I don't know. Maybe this is just the team that everyone loves to hate on some of their players, but let them keep doing it, because Lemon is a value, and I think some of these other players here are too. Including the quarterback.
Yeah, I think I agree. Although Jalen Hurts falling, where is he? Round 9 seems crazy. But then you look at all of the quarterbacks that look like they could have great seasons, and it starts to kind of make sense why all of the quarterbacks have fallen except maybe Josh Allen. But, I mean, you got Drake May and Jaden Daniels, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, Caleb Williams. I mean, all of them look like they're right on the edge of possibly having massive seasons.
Yeah.
And you can make arguments for all of them being top 5 QBs.
And I talked about it a little bit on Wednesday, but, I don't expect Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott to continue having losing seasons. So I think they have,
those are guys I didn't even mention, and those are more guys that could easily just have huge seasons.
Makes me want to draft tonight. Bonky, how many Friday night drafts we got working?
We got a ton, and including the midnight draft, which is coming up here shortly. So
I just want to say,
you have the opportunity to.
Just got to go draft.
Let me ask you this, Don. I was in a KFFSC. I think it was a best ball, and I already had my tight end, and I'm not going to bring it up right now, but it was like a borderline top 12 tight end. I usually wait on tight ends in best ball, but I took Kenyon Sadiq as my number 2 tight end. If I wait on the position, I usually am one of the first to strike at the position for my second choice at the spot. and I took Kenyon Sadiq. And I want to ask you about Kenyon Sadiq here. It's also coming from Bill in Somerville, New Jersey. And he writes, great show, guys. Love it. Thank you. We appreciate that, Bill. How big of a role in the passing offense will Kenyon Sadiq have in year one of his career? Thanks so much. That comes from Bill in Somerville, New Jersey. Don, I'll throw that to you. Kenyon Sadiq is a rookie. What should we be expecting from him in that Jets offense with Geno Smith and Frank Reich as the OC?
Yeah, I'm not terribly optimistic for a number of reasons. Frank Reich, just not a huge fan. Now, I think that Omar Cooper and Garrett Wilson are going to take some of the opportunities away from Kenyon Sadiq. Now, that said, I still do think he is very talented, and I think he will have spike weeks. So I think in best ball, I think he is going to contribute for sure. I also think Geno Smith is not nearly as bad as he looked last year, which is easy to say because he was pretty bad. But I honestly think Geno Smith in some of my dynasty best ball teams, to me, he seems like the perfect super cheap number 3 quarterback. I think he's going to have an okay season. And as you mentioned earlier, Breece Hall, I think, is going to have a really good season. I think he's going to make a lot of catches. And I think that offense is better than people think. So while on the whole, I don't think Kenyon Sadiq is necessarily going to get any further than, call it, tight end 12. I think he is going to have some spike weeks, and I think he is going to flash for future years potentially.
Balky, may I go rapid fire questions with our guest?
Oh, absolutely, you can.
Who is the offensive rookie of the year?
Spicy.
You know, I think I am going to go Jeremiah Love, but I look at this draft that I just went through, and I think Makai Lemon has a chance to be there too. But I would go Love.
I can't find anyone that says Tate.
I don't think anybody would say he's the leading contender, but I would bet on his odds right now for sure.
Well, I'm looking for fantasy performance, not obscure wagering situations, Mr. Balky. I'm looking for some fantasy football performance. But another rapid fire question. Help me out with understanding Carolina backfield.
Oh, yeah.
Chuba Hubbard, he's solid, but only solid.
What does solid mean?
He's above average. I would say, he's not going to get to very good. He's not going to get you to, a top 15 running back, but Jonathan Brooks, I think, has that possibility.
And that's the reason. That's
he's starting to move up, and I think a lot of people are starting to see that there's a chance that he takes over that number 1 role. I think it's more likely they kind of split the work a little bit for most of this season, but if Jonathan Brooks stays healthy and I think by week 4, 5, 6, he could have 70% of that role.
You said earlier in the show tonight that you did not care for Metcalf in the redraft leagues, and I join you on that. However, I've got a few dynasty teams that he's still sticking around on. What can I anticipate from Metcalf this season?
Oh boy! I mean, I think Pittman is better than him, and I think
Pittman's better than everybody. Goddamn! you gotta come with some real news now.
Well, and I also think he fits Aaron Rodgers better. Pittman does. Yeah. I also think with their new OC, and I'm blanking on that as well, but I think Freiermuth is going to have a bigger role than
I do
too. So I don't think DK Metcalf has much of a season. He
over or under 60 catches.
What's that?
Over or under 60 catches?
Under.
4.
Yes, yeah, I think DK has under 60 catches, but I think he could get to 6 or 7 touchdowns.
Yeah. Okay. Well, those are my rapid fire, self-concerned, and very, 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 very selfishly asking you about things I need to know. So thank you.
The OC guys for Pittsburgh, Brian Angelicio. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. He was hired in February. Mike McCarthy hired him. It's his first year as an OC after he has been a tight ends coach and a passing game coordinator.
Gotta love it.
For the last year and a half. So we'll see what happens there. Final email, and Don, I'll throw this to you tonight to lead things off. Rick in Hobbs, New Mexico. Kyler Murray's moved up a bit in Big Gorilla drafts, but I still think he's a good buy. How do you guys feel about Kyler Murray? That is Rick in Hobbs, New Mexico. So this is another player, and I may have touched on this either Wednesday or tonight. Dude, Don, I like Kyler Murray, not as a starter, but I like him as my second quarterback in KFFSC Best Ball. I like him as a backup in KFFSC Main Event and managed leagues or whatever. Just willing to see what happens with him over the course of the first month. If it's best ball and he sucks, okay, I whatever. I'm willing to pay that price. If it's main event and he sucks, well, I can cut him and pick up somebody else. So I think, and regarding Murray and Donna, then I'll pose this to you. Kyler Murray in the FFPC Big Gorilla Tournament over the last 5 days has moved all the way up to quarterback number 16 at the 1308. Don, is that a price that you want to be in the Kyler Murray business this year?
Yeah, I mean, I took him at the 1211 as QB 15, and I agree with you 100%. I think he has the possibility to have a huge season, and I do like him as my QB2. I took him after Caleb Williams. I think, taking him after guys, if you have guys like Dak or Trevor Lawrence or guys who could stumble again because they have shown that that's a possibility, and Kyler takes off, I think there's a good opportunity there as your QB2. And like you said, you don't need to lean on him. You don't need to rely on him. The other path I could see is taking Kyler Murray and then taking Bo Nix or Goff or Baker Mayfield later or something like that, where you have that guy that's going to bail you out if Kyler Murray, just bombs. But yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think Kyler Murray has the opportunity to have a big year.
Kyler Murray, the price that you're investing in him, and I know it, listen, anybody who's watched this show, they understand, we've talked about him a lot, but you're talking about a guy who's being drafted as a backup, quarterback 16 at the 1308. There is a lot of room for error there. If you miss on him, you can pick somebody else up. It's after the post Baker boy, no such thing as a bad pick after the 10th round aspect as well. So there's a lot to like about Kyler Murray there. There's a lot to like about our guest tonight, Don Taulbee, who has hung out with us way longer than we expected tonight, talking about his draft from the previous Friday. We've thrown that up on the board multiple times tonight. Don, thank you so much. You are rivaling me, and if I can speak frankly, you have surpassed me for the best beard on this show. It is for anybody who is watching this on YouTube. You can see Don's beard. It is much more lush and tropical and lovely and thick. Like, I got thinning hair all over my head and my face, and Don does not have that. So it looks great. Thank you so much for hopping aboard tonight, man. This was a lot of fun for us. Thank you for your insight. Congratulations on your previous success. And man, good luck winning this $1 million in the Big Gorilla this year. Don't be a stranger. If you end up cashing it, we'll have you back on the show for sure.
Thanks a ton, guys. I had a lot of fun.
We'll be in touch before then too, Don.
Yeah, absolutely, we will. Absolutely. That is Don Taulbee, the 13-time FFPC League champion, hopping aboard tonight to talk about his Big Gorilla draft from this previous Friday and a lot of other player takes as well. Ferrell, we always get the good guys, and I know it's extra reps, but I feel like this is normal reps. This is what everybody needs to be going through here tonight in order to cobble out the best possible Big Gorilla and main event teams, both in the FFPC and KFFSC.
It's a great name to the show because everybody loves it when you bring a little extra. They call it lanyard down in New Orleans.
Have you ever seen the and I haven't seen it yet, and I'm sure you haven't, but I'll ask you anyway. Have you ever seen the Richard Linklater? It wasn't a sequel, but it was a soft sequel to Dazed and Confused called Everybody Wants Some. Have you ever seen this movie?
Yes.
You did see it?
I don't remember much of it, but I saw it for the very reason of that it was a soft sequel.
Yes, and I always wanted to, like, Wyatt Russell's in it. I love Glenn Powell. He's in that as well. Zoe Deutsch is in it, and I'd never seen it. But that's on my list. And Ferrell, and I'm gonna tell you this right now as we sign off tonight. The best movie, and I know this is like it's sacrilege. I don't think anybody else has said this yet, but I'm gonna tell you this. I've watched a lot of movies in 2026. My favorite one so far, Backrooms with Chiwetel Ejiofor, directed by Kane Parsons. Ferrell, that was amazing. And you, as a guy who has run in the past different retail spaces, I think you would love Backrooms.
I'll have to go look that one up then.
I'm telling you, just go to the theater and see it. It's great. And I'll tell everybody else that. Until you see Backrooms, how do you occupy your time? You go to KFFSC.com. You sign up for the main event. There's plenty of auctions available there as well. Plenty of big paybacks. We have the Best Ball Championship filling up as well, and some other draft masters. KFFSC.com is where to go, Ferrell. I think I mentioned this on the show either tonight or Wednesday. I am full up, not full up because I'm still going to add more leagues. But I have never been involved in this many leagues in KFFSC before, and I as Brian Cox from the McDonald's spokesperson Perch would say, I'm loving it because it has been so much fun.
And Balky, what the big step that you still have to make for Kentucky is to get on the plane and fly down for the Sunday there in northern Kentucky. Fly into Cincinnati Airport. 3 minutes from the Marriott Cincinnati Airport Hotel, which is on the Kentucky side, and you join us in Kentucky. And that would be a gift to everyone who plays at that venue. So I just there's only one Balky. You can't slice him up so thin that he doesn't even recognize himself. But wherever there's fantasy football, Balky, be it Kentucky, Las Vegas, or anywhere else, you're always in demand.
I love fantasy football, and that's why I'm always in demand, I guess. I don't know how much in demand I am, but I'm always in demand of trying to find more leagues, and KFFSC has been.
We'll have some for you.
Ferrell, be good. Enjoy the weekend, and I will talk with you again next Wednesday, my friend.
Thank you, my friend. See you then.
That is Ferrell Elliott, ladies and gentlemen, the definitive commissioner of fantasy football, and that's going to complete our broadcast tonight. Originally when Ferrell and I decided to do this show, we're like, we'll do a half hour, maybe 45 minutes for Friday night. It's turning into like an hour show regardless, but it's so much fun because we're learning so much. We're becoming better drafters, and we're probably going to win more money this year based on the guests we have on and everybody else that is a part of this show. It's been great. So I'm going to leave you with this. FFPC Big Gorilla, $350 to enter, $1 million grand prize. We have midnight drafts filling up tonight. 7 Bananas promo is live. If you want to win a free jungle safari for 4, you know what you need to do. myffpc.com. If you want more details on that, myffpc.com. The main event for the FFPC $1 million grand prize, $600 off each additional team that you sign up for right now at myffpc.com. Baby Gorilla, same exact format as the FFPC Big Gorilla, just $125 to enter their $100,000 grand prize. Speaking of six-figure grand prizes, we upped the FFPC Best Ball Tournament grand prize from $300K all the way up to $400K this year, and we kept the entry fee the same, $125. You can also play the FFPC Superflex Best Ball Tournament at a $35 grand prize, $35 entry fee for a $100,000 grand prize. We have Dynasty and Empire Startup starting at $100, going all the way up to $2,500. We have FFPC Player One, compete against 11 other CPU teams and win big cash there, whether it's Big Gorilla entries, main event entries, or just cold hard cash. You can do that right now with FFPC Player One. Not available in all states, but it's available in most of them. And then Chop Leagues, of course, starting at $35 to enter, and you can turn that into cash, main event entries, and Big Gorilla entries, all that available at myffpc.com. Okay, here's what's going on next week. We will have next Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, Vic Davis, who is a multi-time FFPC league champ. That is 10 p.m. Eastern Time next week. In case you missed last week's episode, or last night's episode, I should say, Scott Pianowski from Yahoo Fantasy Sports joined me for 2 full hours on FFPC Insider Access. Had a lot of fun with Scott. Watch that on the FFPC socials at your convenience. Next week on the on FFPC Insider Access, so I'm trying to load up my schedule here so I can not give you false information. We had Pat Corain last week. We had Scott Pianowski this past week. And then coming up next week, which will be, I believe, July 2nd on FFPC Insider Access, it will be, oh my God, how could I forget? From Fantasy Points and SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, Joe Dolan will rejoin me on Insider Access next week. So you get Scott Pianowski this week, Joe Dolan next week. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then next Friday night, we will have FFPC Extra Reps with 2026 FFPC Pros versus Joe. Vince Staffolino, who obviously gives us our tagline for your officially over the hump now on Wednesdays. He's been on the show multiple times, and he's competing in Pros versus Joes again this year. So excited to have him on Extra Reps next Friday. That is going to do it for our show. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment on the video, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, and get notified each and every time we go live, which will be next Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time with Vic Davis from the FFPC, and of course Ferrell and myself. Thank you so much for watching. As I usually like to say, your weekend officially starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com. It was broadcast live and was watched around the world. Balky and Ferrell will be back next week with more analysis, more interviews, and more advice from guests much smarter than they are. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk with you again next week.
For those of you who are watching right now, I will let you know this. You may know this, you may not. This is a recorded show from Wednesday. So I have no idea what the status is for the midnight draft tonight at myffpc.com at the Big Gorilla. It may be full, it may not be full, but I would encourage each and every one of you to check out myffpc.com. If the Big Gorilla is not full, jump in. Take a chance at $1 million tonight. And then even if it is full, we probably have some best ball tournament action, some Superflex best ball tournament action as well at myffpc.com. So even if the Big Gorilla is full, you may be able to still draft a team tonight with the FFPC. If you can't, draft start up at 1 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow morning with the Big Gorilla. Check it out, myffpc.com. Thanks for watching, everybody. Appreciate each and every one of you. We will talk with you again next week.